Just having a conversation off air. One of the great weapons of the invented in the Western world is the chainsaw. We're talking with Todd Eccles about that this morning, 6 minutes after 9 o'clock, and we're at 61. Bill Colley with you as well. And we talk firearms during this hour of the program on Top Story, of course, on Friday mornings. First of all, our conversation got around to the fact because I was telling him a story about a friend of mine whose son cut a huge gash in one of his legs with a chainsaw the other day. Now, his kids were all tough. I mean, most of his boys have been in the Marine Corps and
That
they've been
was
off to
that
war.
was ugly though. I saw that.
Yeah, he got it stitched up and he's up walking around again. That was a big cut. I mean,
Good for him.
yeah, but there are other things we probably should be worried about more. Chainsaws can have their moments, but there's like anything else. You got to be safe with these things because it's a tool, or just like anything else you have that could firearms being in that category, I think too as well. You got to be very very careful. These are not toys.
Yeah, you got to be careful. You got to know what you're doing, and you got to keep them well maintained as well. Clean them. Function check them all the time. Going back to, for example, the chainsaw example. I had a chain that I didn't realize that was kind of old and was getting worn, and I was running one of my chainsaws once, and the chain broke, and it wrapped itself around my leg pretty quickly. Kind of scared me, made me nervous. I was probably pretty lucky. Same thing with a firearm. Keep an eye on it, clean it, function check it, and you do that by being safe, running it, operating it safely, cleaning it like you should, checking it out, making sure it's going bang like
Hmm.
it should, all that,
Hmm.
just like running any other tool or an automobile, just safety first.
Well, we've talked occasionally. This comes up on the air, but we don't spend a lot of time talking about it. There are times people have been firing, and all of a sudden they get a misfire. Something goes dangerously wrong like that,
Right.
and the question is what's because sometimes you just don't know what's going to happen. You could have your weapon cleaned,
Hmm.
and something's a bad round.
Yep.
Anything like that can happen. What do you do in that situation?
Well, if let's say it's bad ammo, it's a bad round. When if you're firing your gun, let's say, and you pull the trigger, and there's a round in there, and it doesn't go bang, you need to keep your finger off the trigger and keep it pointing down range. You could have a delayed reaction, like a light primer strike, or something like that. That's going, the round's going to touch off in a few seconds. It's a delay thing. Keep that gun pointed down range. Don't all of a sudden pull it back and look at it trying to figure out what's going on. Keep it pointed down range. Give it 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 30 seconds, and then you can go ahead and take the magazine out and kind of see what's going on. Be safe with it. If you are firing your weapon and you pull the trigger and you hear it go bang, and maybe the hole doesn't show up in the piece of paper, that may mean you're a bad shot, but that may mean that you had a squib load where it may sound just a little funny. It's going to go bang. It's going to act like you shot it, but maybe it didn't have enough primer in it, maybe, or enough powder in it. Maybe it didn't have any powder in it, and that primer is enough of a propulsion to get the bullet down the barrel, but not out the barrel. And so if you were to go bang, 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 and it sounds funny, and then pull the trigger again, and you now have an obstruction in the barrel, you could blow the gun up, you can hurt yourself, others around you. Just need to be aware of what's going on. And part of that is everyone makes mistakes, but buy quality ammo. Stay away from some of the stuff you've never heard of. Stay away from the foreign stuff. I know it's good price sometimes, but it's worth a few cents more per round to buy quality ammo to run in your firearm.
When you go to most stores, and people can answer questions you'd have if you go into any shop and just say, "What do you have, and what quality do you have?" They'll walk you through it.
Yeah, they'll show you what they got, and they'll show you from the bottom rung to the top rung, and you'll definitely see differences in prices. This is what you stick with the good names: Remington, Winchester. Good popular names.
If it's in the Cyrillic alphabet, you got to be careful,
You,
right?
you need to be careful. Yeah. Another thing, and this I was just thinking about this while I'm chatting here. Someone pointed this out a while back. A lot of people like to buy a bunch of ammo, and then I see them. They show up to class with it, and it's all taken out of the boxes, and it's all poured in an ammo can. Which, if that's the way you want to do it, so be it. Just know there's a drawback to that. Occasionally, ammo manufacturers will have recalls, just like automobiles do, and they'll need the batch number. And if you've bought a bunch of ammo from the certain company that's having a recall, and as soon as you got it, you opened it all up and you mixed it all together, and it's all in this big ammo tin. Guess what? It's you shoot it, it's the luck of the draw at that point. Chances are, though, if you keep it in a box and they give you a lot number, you will return it or do whatever they want you to do with it. You're going to be able to say, okay, I got this lot number, I've got this, and this. Send it back to them. They'll give you your money back or whatever the instructions call for. But if you've just mixed it all together, you're out of luck. I mean, I had that happen to me once, and they said, "Hey, we got these lot numbers. We know you bought a bunch of ammo. Check it." And fortunately, I didn't have any that fell within those lot numbers, but I'd kept all my ammo in the individual cases so I could check those lot numbers, and I didn't come up against a squib load or something like that might harm me.
When you reference, well, we'll take a call right off the top here, but I want to get back to this. You reference to the fact you might still have a bullet in the barrel, but we'll get to the callers first. 12 minutes after 9 o'clock, and we're at 60. We're talking firearms today. Todd Eccles is here in the studio with us on Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. Caller, you're on the air.
I met a gal here in Twin who worked in construction and was on the other side of a wall, and she was shot by a nail gun.
Oof, that would hurt.
Yes, that would hurt. You got to, I guess with a nail gun, a tool is a tool. We got to treat them correctly. We got to keep the safeties on them. We have to know what we're doing. We have to have the pressures, obviously, on nail guns set correctly. We kind of need to know what's behind our target. I don't know the full story of it. Did it go through a 2x4? Did a guy miss the wood and maybe it went through sheetrock? I'm not sure. But I've seen different tools where people disable the safeties because they think it makes them quicker and faster to use. We don't want to do that with a tool. We don't want to do that with a firearm. Those things are there for a reason. We need to be safe with them and be aware of what we're doing.
And I want to thank him for the call. When you referenced earlier, you could have a bullet still in the barrel. Will racking the slide help? How do you get rid of that?
Typically what you're going to have to do is, if it sounds funny, you need to go ahead, take the gun out, take the magazine out, clear any live rounds that's in there. And then you can take the gun down, field strip it. You can take the barrel out, and you got to kind of look in it. And you can take a wood dowel or even a cleaning rod and be very carefully and kind of tap that bullet back out of that barrel.
But tap it forward.
Yeah, you can tap it forward and get it out of that barrel because that's the way the twist is going.
And we want to point out too as well, if you've got a revolver, it's probably similar because with a revolver you can still look down. You don't have to look down the barrel from the working end. You can look down the barrel from the other end.
If you take the cylinder out, yeah, it might be a little harder on a revolver. You might actually have to tap it out from the barrel end because it's real hard to get something straight down the barrel on a revolver. A story, when I first started deer hunting many, many years ago, I was going out with a buddy of mine. I haven't thought about this story for a long time, but I was shooting some of his reloads, and I'm not knocking reloading. I reload all the time, okay? But I was shooting a 270, Model 70 270 bolt action. And a deer came out. So I got excited. I was going to shoot this deer, and I was shooting some of the rounds that he reloaded. I was just newly married. I didn't have any money. Okay, so he helped me out by giving me some of his reloads. And I pulled up, took one shot at that deer, and missed it. Okay, I figured I'd miss it. Well, I thought I missed it. What had happened was, I don't know if there was a low powder charge or what, but it sent that bullet out, and it didn't go down the barrel very far at all. But I got excited. I didn't realize that. I racked out the spent casing, went to rack in a new round, and luckily for me, that bullet had only gone just far enough that I couldn't seat that next round. If I could have seated that next round, I guarantee you I would have thrown that bolt forward, latched it down, and I would have lifted up and pulled the trigger again. And then bad things would have happened. I had a barrel obstruction. There would have been, it could have got a little hairy. I'm lucky that I wasn't able. I just almost was able to. If I would have forced it, I probably could have got it in there. But instead, we took it apart. We got an old 22 cleaning rod, and we were able to tap that bullet out. But I probably saved myself a couple fingers and maybe part of my face.
Well, that's the thing if you're, shotgun or a rifle. It's near your face.
Yes.
At least with a pistol or a revolver, you're holding your arms out, so you're not that close to eyes and.
Yeah, you're not that close, but that brings up a point though. Whenever you're shooting, you should be wearing hearing protection and eye protection because stuff does happen. I mean, your hands are your hands, but I don't want anything bad to happen to those. But you need to protect your eyes. You need to protect your ears, and so we protect what we can. So make sure you're taking all the safety precautions, wearing all your what they call your PPE, your personal protective gear, and stay safe.
We've got another caller with us, Todd Eccles from Patriot Defense in studio with us this morning on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX, newsradio1310.com. It's 9:16, and caller, you're up next. You're on the air.
I may have told this before. If I have, just bear with me. I'm old. I have a 30-06, and I was with a friend hunting, and I was using Remington bullets. I'll go ahead and say the name. They were factory, and deer pops up like you said. I pulled the trigger, nothing. My friend said, "Give me the rifle." He took it out, and you could see where the firing pin hit the bullet. And so we buried that sucker.
Yeah. Yeah, you probably had it's either I would imagine it's a dead primer or a bad primer. Sometimes that happens, and they just don't go off, and it can be a little scary, you know. You buried it, you got it out of the way. Usually, if you just kind of set them aside, if they're not in the gun and they go off, it's still not good. But chances are, what's going to happen is if they're not being supported by the barrel, by the chamber, and you take it out and it does go off, it's just going to blow out the sides. It's not necessarily going to fire the bolt, but it's going to pop and bang and make a mess, if that makes any sense. But it's not, maybe it might not projectile out the end of it. But yeah, you got to be very, very careful with it. Typically, I set them aside, and then later on I'll take them and I'll take them apart and take their parts out of them, because I want that bullet, I want that brass, and I can always burn the powder. So
that's a great idea. You know, we talked a little bit about bad ammunition. Also, if you're buying a firearm now, if it's a Springfield or Kimber, or if it's Glock, if you're buying it from a manufacturer in this country or from Germany, all right, you can trust them generally. But if it's from the Philippines, you don't know.
Well, and it just depends on the firearm, though. I mean, there's stuff that are made in the Philippines and different countries like that are still highly, reputable.
They have some great gunsmiths. I saw a TV show about that.
They do, and you just got to be careful, and you got to look at the reviews, and you need to kind of see what happens. You know, they they test all these firearms, but sometimes occasionally something will slip by, and it happens. I mean, it happens with automobiles all the time. Typically, when the gun first comes out, wait and see what happens. Wait and see if people like it. Wait and see if it's going to perform like they say it's going to perform. I say that, but yet I was online last night looking at a gun that I've been waiting for almost 2 years to come out, and I told myself that I should wait, but I think as soon as it comes out, I'm going to go ahead and buy it. But just know that when you do that, you run a risk. But chances are, if something's going to happen to that firearm, the gun manufacturer is going to make good on it. They'll probably have you send it back. They will test it. They will look at it. They will fix it. They will give you your money back. I mean, whatever they decide to do. The big one right now is the SIG P, I want to say 320, and I don't know. It passed all the legitimate drop tests and everything that they did, but someone dropped it and hit just at a certain angle, and it'll go off, but it'll fire by itself. And so I believe SIG is doing what they call a voluntary recall. Send it back to them. They'll fix the trigger. They'll fix the problem. But you don't have to do that. But if you want to, you get a better trigger, and they stood behind their product. That's the point of the matter, and that's what a good gun manufacturer will do.
We've got more coming up with Todd Eccles from Patriot Defense, including some details on training that he's got coming along. It's 63. Bill Colley with you as well on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and newsradio1310.com. Todd Eccles is in the studio with us this morning. It's 9:22. We're at 63. Bill Colley, too, on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and newsradio1310.com. Patriot Defense, of course, has a couple of training sessions coming up. And
yeah,
you'll probably have a busy fall, too.
I'm hoping. I need to get through fair season. It kind of slows down over fair and harvest, but you give me a month or two, and it'll usually picks back up right during deer season for some reason, which I stay busy during deer season hunting deer, and I stay busy with classes, and I try to make it all mesh together and work really well. But anyhow, I look forward to that. I've got a class coming up on September 9th. It's my enhanced concealed carry permit class. I've got about 10 or so people signed up for that, and I've got plenty of room for more. If you are interested in that or you have questions, you can call me. You can text me. Area code 620-794-6223. That's area code 620-794-6223. I also have on September 30th. It would be on a Saturday. It's about a 4-hour class. I have what I'm calling, I renamed it, Defensive Tactics 101. And I have a friend of mine who used to be a law enforcement instructor come down, and he's going to teach us or teach whoever's in the class how to draw the firearm effectively, safely, how to get quick shots on target. Um, and I've normally only take 6 people for that class, and I believe I've got 4 signed up already. So I've got 2 more spots. If you're interested, let me know. And then on September 8th, I'd like to put together an all women's class. Just be in the evening on September 8th. If you're interested in firearms, if you want to shoot, if you need help with something, let me know, and we can put that together for you. And I try to put together women's only classes. And it's not really a tirade I'm going on here, but everyone says they want women's only classes. You should do females only classes, and I'm fine with doing those. Whenever I try to put one together, either no one signs up for it or they fall apart at the end. So anyhow, if you're interested, let's make this work. Okay, it'll be fun. Just it'll be me and whoever's in the class. It'll be all women. They don't have to feel intimidated. I can work with them with the shooting portion of it. Let's have a good time. You don't have to be intimidated by some big, hairy, smelly dude sitting next to you thinking he's the next Rambo. It'll be a good class.
We talked a little bit earlier about just varieties of what you can what you can find, and we talked a little bit about safety. When someone is first starting out, that we talk about how we've talked in the past about how you have to have it's got to fit your palm the right way.
Right.
You have to be comfortable with it. But there are probably certain firearms that are safer for people to begin with too as well. I prefer that safety where some people don't want a safety who are much more experienced. But there are a number of options you've got to consider with that as well, because you mentioned dropping a firearm. And if it goes off when you drop it, not a good thing.
No.
But if you can find something that is fairly reliable, if you drop it, it's not going to happen, and something that you're not going to accidentally discharge, there are some firearms obviously better than others for that situation.
Sure. And if you're brand new to firearms and you're picking one up and you want to, you're going to go out shooting and you want a good, safe one to shoot, and maybe you haven't shot at all, maybe you've barely shot, I tell everyone, start with if you can find yourself a good 22 handgun, or either a revolver, a semi-auto, something like that, something with little to no recoil, something that's going to be accurate. And don't go and shoot, or don't go and buy the smallest thing you can find. Get a decent size, full size style, even if it's a 22, something that's going to fit your hand, something you're going to be able to hold on to and feel comfortable with, something that's going to be easier to shoot. Larger frame guns are a lot easier to shoot than smaller guns. Now, when you go out and you shoot a handgun, especially if you're new, okay, and you go out with your buddies and they're, oh, I got this gun you can use, they may sit you up at like 50, 60 foot away from the target. Tell them you do not want to shoot that far. Okay, this is a handgun. Get up close. Get up, 7 yards, something like that. Get up close to that firearm, or close to that target, and shoot. And once you learn the basics and get comfortable, then you can progressively move further and further back. You got to build up the confidence. You got to build up understanding how the firearm works, and then you can move further away from the target. But there are other firearms out there, as you mentioned, that have manual safeties on them. If you feel safer having one with a manual safety on it, go for it. That's fine. All handguns have safeties on them. Some have manual safeties. Some have built-in safeties like grip safeties. They have trigger safeties. Those are all safeties. Get a high-quality firearm and shoot it, one that you're comfortable with, one that's not going to jump out of your hands, especially if you're new to shooting. One more thing. If you're taking somebody out who's new to shooting and they're shooting a 9mm, even though that's not much recoil, this is what I've done with all my kids, and this is what I've done with some other people that have actually come and take some private instruction from me. I only put 1 round in that magazine at a time. Because if they've never shot one before, every time you pull the trigger on that handgun, the gun is going to go bang. So you put 1 round in, let them shoot it. You do that for a while until you see them fire that gun and they're responsible with it. And it's not scaring them. It's not startling them. You don't think they're going to pull the trigger a second time, randomly. They're keeping their finger off the trigger. Then you can load more rounds at once. But be safe about this and take it in baby steps.
You referenced 9mm, and we've talked about the M&P before because it's become a very popular pistol for people. I have a woman friend, just a friend, but she was telling me she's got one as well. Now, her hands aren't anywhere near as big as mine.
Right.
But she grew up, her dad was in the military for 27 years, so she grew up learning from the time she was a tyke how to use firearms and use them safely. But when she mentioned that, I got talking with some other women I know, and they're fans of that particular model too as well. And it just seems to me it's really big for their hands, but there are a lot of them using it.
My wife has little tiny hands, and most of the guns that she has are pretty small guns. I hate shooting because they're so small, and she could shoot okay with them. One day she decided she wanted to shoot my full size handguns. So, or bigger framed handguns, and so she started shooting my M&P. She started to shoot my HK VP9, my Springfield Armory XDM, and she could shoot even better with those big guns, and she actually enjoyed it a lot more. So yeah, just because a person has small hands, it's whatever feels good to them. And the great thing with the M&P, as you know, is they have different back straps that you can change out. I think the M&P 2.0s actually have 4 different back straps, or what they call palm swells, for different size hands, and they're made to fit a lot of people. And the guns are so far advanced. They put so much thought into making these ergonomic and comfortable to shoot that they'll fit just about anyone.
We got more with Todd Eccles coming up from Patriot Defense in just a few minutes. It's 9:30. It's 62. Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and newsradio1310.com. Todd Eccles joins us in studio on Friday mornings from Patriot Defense. And we do want to mention, of course, Forrest had another commitment, but we should point out that at Washington Street Pawn, even though we talk firearms, that he has a much larger array of merchandise that you can actually check out. And I was asking him about televisions last week, and he was telling me I can get you a 32-inch flat panel for $80. Now,
That's not well. And I think last time he was here, he was mentioning he's got a whole bunch of shotguns and rifles and stuff in there. Hunting season's coming up. Now's the time to get prepared. Open deer season starts in October. Go in there, get your rifle, buy some ammo from him. He'll get you all set up. You can go out and get the thing sighted in, get some practice behind it, and you even have time to do a little deer scouting. You're set up.
And also, when you go in the shop, he has your business cards there, so he can refer people if they need the training.
Yep.
And for those listening today who'd like to know a little bit more about how they sign up for a class, what can you tell them?
You can reach me by calling me or texting me at area code 620-794-6223. One more time, that's area code 620-794-6223. You can find me on Facebook under Patriot Defense. Like the page. I've gotten a handful of new likes this week. I really enjoy seeing that. So like the page. I'll keep you updated. You could message me. And we haven't talked about them for a while because I slacked off a little bit, but I'm going to try to ramp the podcast back up this weekend. I just got busy with life, and I've been thinking about the podcast, and I'm not going to.
That happens when your kids get married.
It does. And I'm rethinking the podcast. I'm going to continue to do it, but I think I'm going to take a different approach to it. So I'm just trying to put it all together in my head first, and hopefully I can get another one out this week. So look for that.
And I wanted to point out too as well, Todd is here. We often talk about just keeping your head on straight as being part of firearm safety, and that is you're not there to be, the big word is ostentatious. You're not there to show off. Just the last week, the Second Amendment Federation, which works to back up a lot of firearms owners who end up, to ensure that even if they're carrying legally, it works as a legal resource.
Right.
Has now said that it's not going to defend these knuckleheads who are showing up at these supremacist rallies open carry, because it says in many cases their only goal is to just intimidate. It's not about self-defense and to show off. And I think a lot of people out there, we've stressed this before, is that you don't call attention to yourself if you're carrying.
Right. And, we were just talking a little bit there a minute ago before we got back on the air again. And I was like, I'm kind of torn about it. I think it's a stupid thing to do. You're going to these rallies. You've got your rifle slung over your shoulder. You're open carrying your handgun. You're mostly doing that for intimidation. You're doing that to make a point. I understand that. But then again, I think that's wrong to do that. You might be inciting something. But let me say this, and then I look at it as, it is your right, though. I guess do what you want to do. But then again, if you are going to these rallies, and we have seen lately what happens at some of these rallies, and you want to legitimately protect yourself, take a gun there. I'm good with it. But you know what? Why don't we conceal it?
Mhm.
Conceal it. It's there. It's not causing problems. It's there if you need it. Nobody has to know you have it. And when tensions are high, someone walking around with a rifle, it may just may trigger. I mean, excuse the pun, but it may trigger something in somebody. Just keep it concealed. I've gone to I haven't gone to Antifa rallies or anything like that. Back when they first started and there was doing some of oh, the different freedom rallies and stuff, I went and I did take a handgun with me, but you know what? I carried it concealed. No one knew it was there. And I just treated it like if I was going to the grocery store, I'd carry concealed. If I was going to the park with my kids, I'd carry concealed. That's the way I treated it. I didn't go and get my AR-15 and sling it on my shoulder and carry it into the rally. I'm not going to do that. That's not me. I don't want to draw attention to myself. I want to be smart about this. I don't want to cause any problems. I don't want to draw attention to myself and actually have to use the thing or be that guy on YouTube,
Mhm.
that everyone's talking about. So I understand why maybe they don't want to defend you if you're there and it looks like you're just inciting something to happen because you're out there looking for you want to make something happen. It looks that way anyhow, so it's gonna be real hard to defend anyhow.
There was a appearance President Obama made several years ago, and the Tea Party folks were out as a counter demonstration. Now they were a mile away or so, but there was a fellow who was he was carrying open at the rally, and of course media jumped all over him and all over the fact that he was that close, and of course he was nowhere near the president in actuality. And it took a lot of time to try to explain. And he probably it should have been carrying concealed,
Hmm.
but it took a lot of hard work to remind the media that open carry was still legal where he was, and he had a right to do it. And they sometimes don't see. Now, I will take their point that it might not be the wisest thing to do, but it wasn't illegal.
Right, and you know right. It's not the wisest thing, but it's not necessarily illegal. You see the people that would go into Starbucks and stuff, and they'd have their rifles slung over their shoulders. That's why draw that kind of attention to yourself. Why draw that kind of attention and scare? I don't want to scare people. My handgun's there to defend myself. And I will point out that usually the people that carry the rifle slung over their shoulders into Starbucks or even at some of these rallies, they look like the highest bit of society we have. Let me tell you, it just I don't know. You don't want to make a bad statement like that.
We've got more coming up with Todd Eccles from Patriot Defense. It's 9:40. It's 64. Bill Colley with you as well on Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX, News Radio 1310.com. Not quite 20 minutes left in the hour. We should point out that's the 9 o'clock hour. And Todd Eccles is joining us from Patriot Defense in studio. And we're talking firearms this Friday morning. Bill Colley, too, on News Radio 1310 KLIX, News Radio 1310.com. Telephone number if you'd like to reach the show, 208-736-0300. That's 208-736-0300. I was sharing with Todd that when I was young, I had friends come visit from college one time during deer hunting season, and they freaked out when they saw men walking along the road with firearms slung over their shoulders, and you had to explain to them, well, that's pretty normal here during any hunting season. Is that, and a lot of times if they were just out hunting critters, you'd see people, walking along with something slung over their shoulders, a rifle. Of course, you crack the shotgun, but um, the people who don't grow up in that type of culture
Right.
don't understand it, and so. And you will still, I think, see it sometimes even around here where people come visit maybe from a larger city,
Hmm.
and then they don't know what to make of it. They think they're in the old west or something, and it takes a little time for them to adjust.
Yeah, and that open carry was legal and it still is legal in this town or in Idaho, and you used to see a lot more people doing the open carry thing. Um, And occasionally you'd hear the stories about someone who was maybe downtown, they were open carrying, someone saw them who was from out of state, got a little nervous, they'd contact law enforcement, and law enforcement would go up, they have to go and check these people out. And they'll just say, hey, sir, and, what are your intentions or whatever they may ask you. And more often than not, they're going to ask you about your gun and what you're carrying and do you like to shoot it, and kind of get a feel for that. But kind of a funny story. I was maybe I've mentioned this on the air before. I don't remember, but when I go up to South Hills to cut firewood, I open carry. It's just more comfortable. Okay, I'm in the woods. I have a locking holster. I just carry my
Well, it's
firearm.
certainly quicker too because you don't have to fumble through your
Well,
clothes.
yeah, and I'm bending over running that chainsaw, and I don't want to, it's just more comfortable when to open carry out there. So I was coming back home, been up there all day. It was like 80 degrees. I'm tired. I'm hot. Coming back through Hollister, and this is before my no sugar thing. And I thought I'd get myself a nice big soda to, cold soda to drink, something cold to drink. So I pulled up there, and it's like I normally don't open carry into stores. I was like, I'm too lazy to take this thing off. So I walked in there, and there's, you get people traveling from all different places, kind of stopping at that gas station there in Hollister. I walk in there, and I got my cup, and I'm going to get my soda, and there's some people in front of me at the soda machine. So I walked over there. I'm just waiting to take my turn, and they kind of kept looking at me. And I didn't think anything about the firearm that I had open carrying on my hip. I just whatever, it's normal. They kept looking at me, and the next thing I know, all of a sudden I had a free spot. They cleared out, and I went up there and got my soda. I didn't have to wait in line anymore, and I walked over and I paid. And the lady behind the counter, she didn't think anything of it. I paid, and but I noticed as I was leaving, those people were giving me a wide berth. They were kind of whispering, and I go out, and the only other vehicle in the parking lot is theirs. It's got California plates on it.
Yeah, yeah.
Some they weren't used to it, and I made them nervous. They didn't know what was going on. They don't know necessarily our culture down here and what you're going to see. So I made them a little nervous. I didn't mean to, but that's why I consider, or I like concealed carry. You don't draw attention. You don't make people nervous. I don't want to answer questions. It's there if I need it, and that's why I carry anyway. And I don't want to be the center of attention about anything.
Well, you've got the newcomers in places like Blaine County and out in Hagerman who don't
Yeah.
like the sound, the echo of the report of a gun. And they probably get nervous about it. And we were talking off air about people who actually have the racks in the pickup trucks. They're there for a reason because if you're out on the ranch
Yeah.
and you see the coyote in some parts of the state, even a wolf, anything like that, attacking your cattle,
Uh-huh.
you're not supposed to shoot
It's a
wolves.
tool. What is it?
But if they're attacking your cattle,
yeah.
I don't think you're going to think twice about it.
Well, and that's the definition of what a firearm is. Firearm is a tool, and a rifle has a tool. A rifle is a tool and has a specific job. A shotgun is a tool and has a specific job. A handgun is a tool and has a specific job. And farmers and ranchers use their rifles for predator control, to defend their livelihood, to defend their herds. I mean, some people use it for snakes, whatever it might be. I mean, I know some guys that work for the canal company that they use theirs to keep the ditch banks from being eroded from ground squirrels and rock chucks and whatnot. They all have tools. They all have a time and place to use it. And granted, you may not see me running around LA with a shotgun in my window of my truck, but I'm not going to need that tool down there. I'm going to need that tool up here. The tool I need down there, which they don't let me have, is my concealed carry handgun.
Right.
But everything has a tool and a time and a place to use it. And if you come here, you're just going to have to get used to the fact that we do things differently. And this is a whole different world compared to a lot of places.
Well, and you'll see that. You'll see these people who write, for big city newspapers in other parts of the country, or some of the Hollywood entertainers and the like, and they make fun of people who have gun racks in the trucks. And
Mm-hmm.
what they don't seem to understand is that there is a reason it's there, and that is it is useful in a business. Call it a business situation, if you
Mm-hmm.
will, because ranching and farming they are businesses,
They are.
and a lot of people don't understand that. And so it's part of what you're doing. Or if you're out and you've got to go out and do an inspection somewhere on the ranch and you run into a rattler,
Yeah.
I mean, these are things that you're going to need. And again, they may not necessarily need them in some swank suburb in Los Angeles, but they're just that complete lack of understanding about why people here have them is what always they don't even take the time to consider why they might be useful.
They're ignorant.
Good point.
That's the word. They're ignorant, and a lot of times those people think that, well, I don't need them here. I don't know why you guys would ever need anything like that. Why do you guys need a killing machine or a killing tool? I mean, they don't even think about it. And I'm not trying to give them a pass, but they live in a little tiny world. All they can see is what's around them, and that's their world, and that's the way everyone should live. And they just consider that's the
Well,
way everyone lives.
Why do you need air conditioning in Las Vegas?
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's useful.
Yeah.
It's very useful, we should point out. And yet, I grew up in a house without air conditioning.
I have air conditioning, but I don't run it.
Yes. Wanted to point out if you'd like to reach the program today, telephone number 208-736-0300, 208-736-0300. Todd Eccles from Patriot Defense joining us this morning. We're at 65, Bill Colley too. And just a quick note as well, email is down, so if you were trying to email me this morning, there's some work going on with that right now, general maintenance as they call it. I won't be able to see that, so it would have to be a telephone call. And we do need to mention one more time, at least this morning, about the training you'll be doing. And as you mentioned, you got to work around the fair and some other things. But the weather here is generally going to be nice through December, so
Oh
the
yeah.
people will have a lot of opportunities.
Oh yeah, and I mean I don't quit doing classes just because of hunting season or fair. I mean I still try to do them, and even when the weather gets cold, even though I have an outdoor range now, I will transfer everything over to the indoor range in Buell. So we'll have the class at my house, and then when it's cold out, really cold out, we'll go use the indoor range, which I can heat up, and it's going to be a little nicer than shooting outside. But yeah, I mean I've got my enhanced concealed carry permit class is on September 9th. I have a defensive tactics 101 class. We're going to teach you how to draw your firearm safely and get on target quickly and the safe steps of doing that. That's going to be on September 30th. And I'd really like to put together an all women's class on September 8th. It'd be 2-3 hours long. Just talk about firearms. We go out, we shoot them. We're not going to learn a bunch of stuff. We're just learn how to properly shoot the firearm and just have an enjoyable time. If you're interested in any of those, you can call me. You can text me. Area code 620-794-6223. That's area code 620-794-6223. You can find me on Facebook under Patriot Defense. And I also want to throw this out there. I'm looking to buy another firearm. I'm always looking to buy another firearm, but I haven't found a release date on it. But I'm looking for the put out by Avidity Arms. It's the PD-10. It's the Rob Pincus's brainchild. I'm excited to get my hands on this firearm. I know it's not out yet, but if anyone comes across a release date on that, find me on Facebook, shoot me a message, and I'm scouring the internet because it's going to come out in the next couple months, and I want to be one of the first people to get one on my sweaty little hand.
We have a caller with us. And caller, you're on the air with Sweaty Todd Eccles.
Oh,
Caller, are you with us?
Yes, hello.
Hello.
I've inherited some firearms and some reloaded ammo. The reloaded ammo is probably 30 to 40 years old. Is there kind of an expiration date on that? And if so, is there a place that you can take it to safely dispose of it?
Okay. If ammo will typically, if it's stored correctly, anywhere that you're comfortable staying or being stored, ammo is going to be comfortable. So not very much humidity, nice, dry, cool. Warm, a little warm in the winter, cool in the summer type of thing. That's how you want to store your ammo. So I don't know how that ammo was taken care of, but typically ammo it'll live longer than you if it's taken care of correctly. Now you said it was reloaded ammo. So I'm assuming you don't know exactly who reloaded it, or if you did, you don't know how they reloaded it, what firearm it was necessarily reloaded for. I would recommend, since you don't know about that ammo, you don't have any history on that ammo, it could have been, someone could have made a mistake. It could have been reloaded incorrectly, too hot of a load. Anyhow, yeah, you need to dispose of that. If you know of, there's a few different things you can do. If you know of somebody who is a reloader, give it to them and have them or have them give you the hammer, or you can go buy a little kinetic hammer. You can take that apart. There's still usable parts of that. People can reuse the brass. They can reuse the bullet itself. Don't waste that. If you need to get rid of it, I'm sure as far as there's somewhere local you can take it. I think there's some stuff you can do to it. Now, you need to get online and find out for sure. I think you can probably soak it in some kind of solvent or do something like that, which will corrode it and make it non-usable, but you need to go ahead and get online and look that up, and they'll tell you the proper procedures for that. But there's a lot of people that reload. I'd find someone to reload and say, I don't want you to shoot this, but you can pull it apart and you can have the parts and pieces, and then they can make up some new ammo later on.
It's a pretty safe approach.
Yeah, that's the way I would do it. Now, was that his question, or was there another part of his question I missed?
Is there another? Go ahead.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it.
Do it. I don't mean to imply that you were sweating sitting in here.
No,
you sweat on your job a lot, and
Yeah, I
and
understand. It's okay.
unlike me, because I can sweat sitting still, so I have air conditioning at home.
Depends on whether or not my wife's questioning me
There's
or
the old
not.
Rush Limbaugh line about when he first moved to New York to host a radio show, and he said that he moved into an apartment and it didn't have central air. And Rush says, "Let me tell you a story about big men. Big men sweat."
Yeah. I've got a wife and 3 daughters, so I sweat a lot anyway.
We wanted to point out that Todd has these courses coming up, and again, the reason we really want to get people involved is ever since Idaho moved into that realm of being permitless carry, we've had I think a keen interest in people who've been buying firearms. We haven't had many tragedies, which obviously the opponents were predicting. But I think one of the reasons happens to be that people are coming out and they are training and they'd like to know more.
Exactly. And I think we're going to jump back for just a second. People were predicting we'd have, blood in the streets. There'd be Wild West type shootings. And you know what? Every time a state goes to come out with constitutional carry and that type of permitless carry, they use the same reasons as why it should not pass, why you should not do this. Blood in the streets. You're going to have people shooting everybody. It's going to be the Wild West. You know what? That's never happened. It's never happened yet. Whenever there's a new state that tries to introduce something like that, what do? Those are the same excuses they dredge up again. I love how they keep using failed excuse after failed excuse after failed excuse, the same ones for every single state. But yeah, since constitutional carry did come into effect, the interest is actually, I think, it's kind of peaked. I think that there's a lot of good people out there, and they've decided that if anyone can still carry in the state of Idaho, that they want to do it too, and they want to be educated on it. They want to go the extra mile. They want to get some training. They want to learn the Idaho lethal force laws, which is what you get to learn and take part of when you take the enhanced concealed carry class. We also get to go out and fire 98 rounds. I get to teach you and show you and make sure you know how to safely handle your firearm. We just do some basic drills, nothing crazy, nothing fancy. You took the class, Bill. Were the drills hard?
Mm-hmm. No.
Were they fun?
Yeah.
We had a good time. You got to get some camaraderie with your fellow classmates there, and it's a good time. Kind of a little bit of competition. It's good. People are taking the right step. They're getting educated. They are feeling the responsibility of carrying a firearm, and they realize that they have a responsibility to themselves, their family, and the people that they're around every day. So they want to do this correctly. They want to get educated and be responsible, and that's a good thing.
There's an element that will never own firearms, and I understand that. I have a friend, and she would never own them. She's just, but over the years, her opposition to them 25 years ago, the political opposition, she doesn't have that any longer. She understands why people now might have that. She just doesn't have any interest in it. She feels that a lot of it is your own self-doubt. That you're going to be worried you're going to shoot your toes off.
Right.
And so a lot of people may just decide they'll take another route to self-defense. No one is saying that's a bad thing. It comes down to your personal choice.
Right. And I say, give it if you don't like them, it's a personal choice. I'm not going to shove it down your throat. I'm not going to make you like them. But you know what? You can't. It's really hard for me to back you on your opinion of not liking firearms or never wanting to own one if you've never even given it a chance. Go out with someone, find someone to take you out, or maybe if you like firearms, find someone, offer to take somebody out. Will it cost you a little bit of time? Yeah. They're going to use your gun? Yeah. Will it cost you a little bit of ammo? Yes, it will. But take that time, go out and do it, and educate someone so they can make a choice, a good, proper, educated choice.
That ammo is cheaper than most soda pop, though, we should point out. So.
It is.
Yeah. We want to thank Todd Eccles for joining us today, talking firearms. Rush Limbaugh's program is coming up next following the news at 10 o'clock from Fox. Bill Colley with you as well this morning on News Radio 1310. KLIX, newsradio1310.com. God willing, and the creek don't rise. And if I haven't offended anybody, I guess I'll be back here Monday morning between 8 and 10 o'clock.